Hello, and welcome to this QuickCast, what LeadingAge members need to know about lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender aging. My name is Tim Johnston, and I'm the Manager of Education and Training for SAGE, which stands for Services and Advocacy for Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Elders. Today we're going to be discussing 5 topics. First, I'm going to outline some key terms that you should know in order to treat LGBT older adults with respect. Next, we're going to look at some facts and figures about the LGBT older adult community, and then take a look at some LGBT history. Then we'll take a look at some best practices that can help you improve the services you're providing to LGBT older adults. And finally, I'll highlight some training opportunities and other resources you might want to take a look at. So let's begin by looking at some key terms. LGBT is an acronym that stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. It can also be written GLBT, and there's no difference in the meaning between those two acronyms. Lesbian describes a woman whose primary emotional, physical, and romantic attractions are for other women. Similarly, gay describes a man who is attracted to other men, or it can also be an umbrella term that signals same-sex attraction. So for example, a woman might describe herself as a lesbian, or she might describe herself as a gay woman. There's no difference in meaning between those two terms. The word bisexual describes someone who in some way is attracted to both men and women. Or at times bisexual people will describe their sexual orientation as more fluid, or that they're attracted to specific people, regardless of their sex or gender identity. Finally, the word transgender describes someone whose gender identity, or how they feel about themselves on the inside, is different from the sex that they were assigned at birth. So again, it's an umbrella term for anyone whose gender identity is in some way different from the sex that they were assigned when they were born. But I want to be very clear that there's no one meaning of the term transgender, and there's also many ways to transition, and transitioning has a unique meaning for each individual. Some people might use hormone therapy or different surgeries to bring their body more in line with their identity, but many other people will do things like changing their clothing, using different gendered pronouns, or changing their name as a portion of their transition. Next, I want to take a look at some terms that we recommend you avoid when working with older adults. The first term is homosexuality. A lot of people don't know that homosexuality was considered a diagnosable psychological disorder until the year 1973. What this means is that if you were diagnosed as a homosexual, you could lose your job, you could lose your family, your home, and we know that many people were put into psychological institutions or hospitals against their will until they were, quote-unquote, cured of their homosexuality. What this means is that for many older adults, this term carries a lot of negative, medicalized stigma. So instead of saying homosexual, we recommend that you say gay or lesbian. The next word is queer. Many of you will recognize queer as a very harsh and aggressive term. But many younger people have begun to reclaim this term and use it as a positive term to describe themselves. However, more often than not, older adults have not reclaimed this term, and this word, queer, still carries a tremendous amount of negative baggage and negative associations. So instead of saying queer, we recommend that you default to LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. The third term is lifestyle. You might hear people describe the lesbian lifestyle or gay lifestyle. We recommend avoiding this term because it makes it seem like all lesbian or gay people do the same things, live the same kind of life, have the same hobbies or interests. But the LGBT community is just as diverse as the general population. And then finally, we often hear people discuss sexual preference, or one another's sexual preference. We recommend against using the term sexual preference because the word preference makes it sound like something that you can choose or something that you could change or be cured of. So instead of sexual preference, we recommend you use the language of sexual orientation. So having gone through some key terms, let's take a look at some facts and figures about LGBT older adults. One question that we are often asked is just how many LGBT older adults are there? So we know that in the year 2014, there were around 3 million gay and lesbian older adults in the United States. But we're expecting that that number is going to double, or maybe even more than double, over the next 15 years. Which is why SAGE has started what we're calling the National LGBT Elder Housing Initiative. One goal of this initiative is to help support the construction of LGBT-specific housing for older adults. But we also recognize that with more than 3 million gay and lesbian older adults in the United States right now, we also need to make sure that all Aging Network services are safe for LGBT older adults. I would encourage you to learn more about this Elder Housing Initiative by visiting our website, sageusa.org/LGBT housing. So let's take a look at one woman's experience. This is Edith Windsor. You might recognize her from the news, and we'll talk more about why in just a minute. Edith was born in the year 1930. In the 1950s, the McCarthy trials began to target, quote, sexual perverts for harassment and termination from government jobs. So Edith knew very early on that she could never openly identify as a lesbian in the workplace without risking losing her job. In 1969, the Stonewall riots began what we think of as the modern gay or LGBT rights movement. Edith was 39 years old at this pivotal point in LGBT history. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association removes homosexuality from its list of mental disorders, meaning that until Edith was 43 years old, she might have felt uncomfortable going to the doctor or seeking out any mental health services. In 1997, Ellen DeGeneres came out publicly as a lesbian. So this means that Edith had to wait until she was 67 years old to see a positive portrayal of another lesbian-identified woman in the mainstream media. In 2007, Edith married Thea Spire, her partner of 43 years in Ontario, Canada. Edith was 77 years old. And, as I alluded to before, in 2013, the Supreme Court case United States v. Windsor repealed Section 3 of the Defense of Marriage Act, paving the way for a dramatic expansion in marriage equality. But this means that Edith had to wait until she was 83 years old to have her marriage recognized by her government. So this history of the LGBT experience has an impact on LGBT older adults. They're often more hesitant or fearful to disclose their LGBT identity to care providers. They might be afraid of abuse or afraid of receiving substandard care if care providers know that they are LGBT identified. And finally, LGBT older adults may rely on families of choice or friends for their care and support, rather than biological or legal family. So now let's take a look at some best practices. First, we recommend that you incorporate questions related to gender identity and sexual orientation into the resident, client, or participant orientation process. Next, we think it's a great idea to include pictures of LGBT older adults in your advertising materials, on flyers, decorations, and also on your website. This sends a clear message that LGBT people are already accessing your services and might make new people feel more comfortable. Finally, provide and honor active, inclusive LGBT programming, events, and holidays within your organization, not just for your residents, clients, or participants, but also for your staff. There are several examples of member best practices. including LeadingAge Georgia, who developed their own provider assessment tool for LeadingAge Georgia members. Volunteers of America, who partnered with Training to Serve in their Minnesota long-term care centers. Training to Serve is a nonprofit organization assisting Volunteers of America providers with education and tools to help them serve the needs of LGBT persons as they age. And finally, Roseville Senior Living Community in Portland, Oregon, where they incorporated cultural competency education and training for their residents and staff. These are just a few of the many examples of LeadingAge members expanding the world of possibilities for aging. I also want to let you know about SAGE's National Training and Education Program through SAGE's LGBT Cultural Competency Training. We offer in-person trainings facilitated all over the country by our national team of certified trainers. Trainings are anywhere from 1, 4 to 8 hours in length. We also provide webinars and distance learning tools. All of our webinars are facilitated live by a certified trainer to offer trainees a lot of opportunity for interaction and to ask questions. And then finally, SAGE is available to help audit your organization and do a large-scale evaluation of your organizational policies and culture as it relates to LGBT identity and LGBT aging. LeadingAge provides opportunities for learning and engagement through its annual meeting, as well as the LGBT Network and listserv. And finally, LeadingAge's Center for Applied Research is consulting with SAGE and the HRC Foundation to help create a long-term care equality index for LGBT older adults. So if you're looking for more resources, I would encourage you to check out our website, www.sageusa.org. You can also join the conversation on LeadingAge's LGBT listserv. You can see the address in the middle of your screen. And finally, I would encourage you to look at LeadingAge Thrive, which provides a framework and resources to help organizations achieve a successful future in meeting the needs of people and communities they serve. You can find out more about LeadingAge Thrive at leadingage.org/thrive. So in conclusion, if you have any questions, would like technical assistance or support, or want more information about our various training options, please feel free to reach out to me directly. You can email me at tjohnston@sageusa.org. That's tjohnston@sageusa.org. You can also see a full listing of LeadingAge's QuickCasts and other distance learning education by going to leadingage.org/distance learning. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and please do not hesitate to reach out if you think there's a way that SAGE can help support your organization.